Stage 2 of the 2019 Overwatch League season is officially in the history books, and what better way to conclude it than by having the rematch of the century between the San Francisco Shock and Vancouver Titans in the Stage 2 finals. In this video, I thought I'd give a brief review of the game to tell you guys what's on my mind, and before I move forward, I wanted to give a quick warning for anyone who has not yet seen the game and does not want to know the results. I will be talking about the outcome of this game, so spoilers are ahead for anybody who cares. If you don't want to know what happens, then click off this video right now or forever hold your peace. Okay, if you're still here, then I'm assuming that you either don't care about the quote-unquote spoilers or you've already watched the game. So first I wanted to start off by saying congratulations to the San Francisco Shock. You guys played great all stage long, very well deserved. The next thing I wanted to say is what a game. The rematch between two league juggernauts was everything I could have asked for. We got to see pro Overwatch played at the absolute highest level possible. And like with the first stage final, this match was also quite close. It failed to go the distance like the first time, but 6 maps was more than good enough to satisfy my urge to see a close and evenly matched game. And this time the Shock were able to win in what has become an epic rivalry between them and the Vancouver Titans. Let's jump into how each map went, shall we? So we start things off on Lijiang Tower, where the Shock were able to earn a hard-fought 2-0 victory. The first noteworthy detail I wanted to point out about this map is how aggressive both teams were. Both of these teams usually like to utilize this playstyle, and you could tell that both teams were stepping on the gas non-stop. The Titans even stuck to their usual strategy, where they get aggressive even when they're down a few players by throwing out ults hoping to turn the fight around. I'd say that the Shock did a pretty good job of handling this wacky and unusual playstyle. Not only that, but they used their own aggressive playstyle to try and catch the Titans off guard by getting up in their faces at their own spawn, and I must say that it worked out pretty well for them. I remember seeing this on Control Center in particular. Before the Titans could even get all grouped together out of spawn on the point, Sinatra would just throw his grav out, and the unsuspecting Titans who appeared to be caught off guard found themselves dying before they could even engage. After a fairly close first map, the Titans chose King's Row as the first hybrid map of the series, which was probably the right play to make since they have not lost on this map at all. They were 8-0 coming into this match after all, and unsurprisingly, the Titans continue their reign of terror on King's Row by tying the series up at 1 apiece. It did not come easily, however. The Shock actually looked to be in a good position to win this map after cruising through their attack to finish with over 3 minutes left in their time bank. But then in typical Vancouver fashion, they showed no fear at all by finishing this map in almost as fast of a time. All credit in the world goes to Vancouver for playing well, but it kind of felt like the Shock were throwing on their first defense. Violet had multiple questionable trance usages, and it kind of felt like the team overall was committing ults to fights that were not winnable, and the Titans took advantage of this by managing the better ult economy. Salmonsu also had one of the most unlucky grabs I've ever seen, by the way. I mean, just look at this. You don't see that every day. Vancouver would then carry this momentum into their second attack by advancing all the way into Point C territory in overtime. Then after a brutal battle on defense, they were able to stop the Shock in their tracks and tie up the series at 1 apiece. After a quick break, the Shock picked Paris as the next destination. Surprisingly though, this map selection seemed to backfire as the Shock weren't even able to fully capture Point A. Bumper on the defensive Winston and Reinhardt plus the rest of the Vancouver tank line really gave the Shock problems. Even when San Francisco found a pick on Haxel late into the round, the Titans used their typical never give up mentality by throwing out a sound barrier, graviton surge, and self-destruct, allowing them to win the fight and keep the Shock from capturing Point A. Then Vancouver made it look easier on their attack by taking Point A and the map on their first try while using a multi-DPS Hammond composition. We even got to see Bumper play some Hanzo, which made it all the more enjoyable to watch. San Francisco didn't let this tough map loss get to them though. They had a massive bounce back on Watchpoint Gibraltar, which really shouldn't come as much of a surprise since they tend to showcase pretty strong performances on this map, and that's exactly what we saw from them. They rolled through points A and B and pretty easily managed to finish the map with nearly 2 minutes left in the time bank. The Titans on the other hand didn't have it so easy. They even got spawn camped on Point A for a short while. Eventually they did get it going, but their sluggish start to the map did lead to an overtime finish. As a result, Vancouver only got a minute on their attack, which they did not get too far on, by the way. The Shock were able to make more payload progress relatively quick once the two teams switched sides, and just like that, we found ourselves tied at 2 heading into Oasis. And this map played out very similar to Lijiang, where one map is super close in terms of control percentage, and the other not so much, as the Shock go on to win yet again. I personally feel like this was the map where the Shock finally started to gain the upper hand. Super, in my opinion, looked like they had the very slight edge over Bumper. It was barely noticeable, but I do think it was there. And it showed up on this map in particular. Super even managed to land a sick flank shatter on City Center. I also really liked what I saw from Choyobin on this map. His self-destruct uses were pretty defensive. He was more often than not using them to zone out the Titans when they landed a big shatter or grab when Violet either couldn't use trance or didn't have it to begin with. I tip my hat off to Choyobin for not just doing this during Oasis, but on most of the maps played in the series. In the GOATS meta, self-destruct is a pretty valuable ability that teams usually like to combo into other tank ultimates, but Choyobin wasn't really using his ult much like this. He tended to use it defensively or to engage, and this playstyle worked out on more than a few occasions throughout the day. Now we're in pretty familiar territory at this point in the game. In the Stage 1 final, San Francisco took a 3-2 map lead going into the second intermission, but ended up losing the next two as the Titans went on to win the stage title. The Shock were determined not to let this happen again coming into Blizzard World though. This was yet another map that did not come easy for either side, however. It kind of felt like pressure and fatigue were starting to get to both teams due to the increasing amount of mistakes being made. It wasn't as noticeable on the Shock's attack, but you could still start to see it a little bit. A Salmon Su grab got eaten and the Shock were unable to finish the map and only found themselves making it partially through point C. Oh, and big shout out to Super for landing a massive shatter to help the Shock unlock the payload. It was an incredible play and made for a nice counter after Salmon Su used grab. Now it all came down to Vancouver's attack. All they had to do was capture the objective and get a little bit more payload progress than the Shock, and it would be map 7 all over again. The Titans took a fair amount of time to crack the point, however, but they did eventually get the payload moving on their attack after about 3.5 minutes. And things were even looking pretty good for them to get through point B once Sinatra whiffed his ult, and both Moth and Choyobin committed their ults as well. By the time they cleaned up all the kills during the fights though, the Titans unfortunately had less than 2 minutes to get through most of point B. And by the time the next fight started, it was the last real team fight. The good news for the Titans is that they would have all 6 of their ultimates coming into this fight. And with the Shock only having an Earth Shatter and Trance to work with, things were looking pretty good for Vancouver to win the fight and advance to point C. All they had to do was secure a kill or 2 with their ults. This fight appeared to be in the favor of the Titans until they proceeded to get practically 0 value out of all 6 of their ultimates. I don't know if nerves or the spurs of the moment got to them or something, but the Titans failed to secure a single kill in a fight, which they clearly had the advantage coming into. After somehow finding a way to lose the fight, the Titans had to scramble back to the payload with no ultimates to work with other than a rally and self-destruct that Haxel and Janu didn't even get until members of their team were already dead. The Shock cleaned up this fight pretty easily and were able to take the map and the Stage 2 title as a result. Once again, I just wanted to congratulate the Shock for getting their revenge and winning the Stage 2 title. I also have to apologize to them. I thought that Vancouver wanted this win more, but you guys proved me wrong, that's for sure. This game clearly meant way too much for them. There was no way in hell these guys were going to let the Titans beat them again after coming so close the last time. This is well earned. The Shock played some amazing Overwatch this stage. After all, they only dropped 3 maps the entire stage, 2 of which came in this one game. I know people are going to sit here and say they had an easy schedule, yada yada yada, but their map record is still undeniably impressive. You now sit at the top of the throne, San Francisco. It's time to write the next chapter in what has been an incredible turnaround for your franchise since Season 1. As for the Titans and their fans, well, you can't win them all, right? Don't feel too bad though, guys. It took 14 regular season games and 6 playoff matches for someone to finally beat you. It's also worth noting that this is this team's first loss in the competitive scene in nearly a year. The last time this team lost a game before the Stage 2 final was July 22nd in a group stage match against Kondu Panthera, which is the team they would eventually go on to beat shortly after to win Overwatch Contenders Korea Season 2. That's an absolutely ridiculous amount of time to go without losing a game, and any fan of this team should be feeling very proud right now. And I'll be 100% honest, I think you're better off losing now so the pressure of keeping the win streak alive isn't felt during something more important like the overall playoffs. While I'm glad to see someone finally take the Titans down, I can't help but feel bad for Bumper and Haxel. These two along with Stitch have been playing together since the beginning of Runaway Story when they participated in the second season of Apex. These guys have already gone through multiple second place finishes in tournaments, so adding on another one to the list has to hurt. This photo of Bumper covering his face says it all. He didn't want to have to go through this again alongside Haxel and Stitch. It's already happened more than enough times in the past. Hopefully this loss motivates Bumper and his teammates to play at an even higher level though. People aren't going to say they're the best team in the world anymore, and that's surely going to put a chip on their shoulders. My overall thoughts of this game was that it was spectacular. I have no complaints at all. It was an evenly matched affair, and I got to finally witness the Titans lose a game in the Overwatch League. All 6 players on each team gave it their all, and that's all I could ever ask for. Everybody made some mistakes, sure, and some more than others, but everybody had some good plays to help make up for it. Oh, and if any of you were wondering, no, I don't have an issue with Violet winning MVP of this match. I know that he had multiple iffy trance uses where he'd use it right before Salmon Su got grabbed, but it's not like he had a bad game. And while trance is the best way to counter grab overall, I think, Violet trusted his teammates to find other ways to nullify it. Hence why we saw defensive self-destructs from Choyobin and counter-shouters from Super when the team was stuck in Salmon Su's grab. And I mean, just come on, look at his overall performance. Almost 95,000 healing and 73k damage is one hell of a stat line, is it not? Does Violet deserve this award over some of his other teammates? Well, that's up for debate. But that's not something I'd like to talk about in this video. We can definitely discuss it down in the comment section though, because I'd like to hear all of your insight on this. Regardless of the outcome of this match, it's been obvious for a while now that these two teams are clearly at another level. They're without a doubt in a class of their own as it stands. It's going to be interesting to see how both of these teams perform moving forward, especially if we see a meta shift. Will they be at the top of the world still, or will both of them come crashing back down into reality? Only time will tell. And with that being said, that is going to wrap up today's video. If you did enjoy it, then be sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you all so much for watching today's content, and until next time, this is ATP, signing out. Peace.